It's not very colorful. It's, you know, browns and blacks, a couple, you know, a little yellow, a little red here.
Mm-hmm.
But this was after he went to rehab and dried up and stopped drinking and, you know, took some Prozac. So it actually was done on a grid. And you can see that some of the drips are large, some are small.
Mm-hmm.
So we covered over, you know, some of the shapes with plastic and did smaller drips. And then when that dried, then we flipped it, and then we did the larger drips. So we did it like in a series. And so it's like the Pollock thing, but it's taking it in a different direction and doing something different by actually making a plan and making it into a grid rather than just having it be some big canvas. It just drips. You know? So it's a little bit different, taking someone else's idea like that. And then in here, I had him pitch the ceiling asymmetrically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the center, since I don't like things that
Yep.
meet in the center. You know? So when I think about, and I didn't plan this, but when you walk in the door, sometimes I think that this is like the place in the foyer where everything sort of begins. It's like you're in the force field now. Walk in.
Do you like to stand in that particular spot?
Well, you know, it's not even that so much, just without even realizing it, you walk in the door and you're right here where it's pitched. And so like the journey, the excitement, whatever begins in this place. Right? We had like pipes and stuff in the ceiling. The ceiling actually had been about this height right here, where that is.
Yep.
So we dug holes and found it was actually up there. And so we just found pipes, just boxed the pipes. And so in a lot of the rooms we made these asymmetrical ceilings. I can hear the same thing.
Yep.
So that was what came out of my saying, give me more space, expand my space. So otherwise it would have been just all the same height, and it wouldn't have been nearly as interesting as the way it is now. And again, it's totally asymmetrical. And it's got these interesting little, you know, corners and stuff. Just in adding these different planes, it just gives the space more of a feeling of being alive. And it kind of steps away from the idea of an environment that's static.
It's a bit more dynamic.
Yes, much more dynamic, yes.
Yep.
It's not just flat, 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 flat. And it really is so much more interesting. And so what I think about this house is that I wanted to create a never-ending conversation. And that's what we all want in life, is a conversation that doesn't end. And so you have the people that are in here, and the environment talks to them all of the time. And so it's a conversation that leads you all over. It actually came in 2 pieces, and it was, you know, hand-loomed and everything. And there's one scene, and the genesis of the carpet is in this room. And so it flows, and it has these teardrop shapes, but I'll tell you about those in the other room. And like here is a place that I patched.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I patched it. So you're not going to look at that.
Right, yep.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even like in a corner I could put a lamp on. It was like right there. And over here, it's yellow and green. So what I did was I had them flip the colors like through the middle of the room, and gradually the colors flipped. And again, it's this conversation, the talking in the environment to the people. And I didn't want the same color repeated, this room, that room, nor that room, so then I said we should flip the colors as this goes through the room. And so again here, different blind colors.
So you see, that's blue. That's balance to me.
See, it's balanced.
It is balanced.
Yeah, it's a different kind of balance.
Yep.
It's a balanced asymmetry. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I've got, again, the color conversation, that each one of the blinds a different color in here. And the air conditioning units in each room are a different color. So I had them done with like auto body paint. And again, it's the conversation that's going on, and it's drawing you places, and you're seeing things that maybe you've never seen before. And I'm always discovering new things, even though I live here. I've lived here for years and years and years. And sort of like, it's an environment that is stimulating, but at the same time, it's also very relaxing. if that makes sense. So you don't feel like you're jazzed all the time, but you feel sort of right. You feel right where you should feel. You feel in the middle from it, right in the center. The sun sprouts with a back pocket, and so it has a back pocket for a pair of overalls that my daughter wore when she was still in diapers. So it's the idea of taking a piece of furniture and putting emotion into the piece. So it's not just a piece of furniture, it tells a story about something. And this was about, it's like the sun sprouting with rays coming out of the sun. This was a story about me at the time, and how I was excited about what I was doing. And then this is about me, and then at first I thought the pocket in the back was about my kids and about babies and everything. And then I realized that it's really a story about all of us, because we were babies at one time, and then we grew up into, being adults. And so it's really a story about all of us, not just me and my children.
Yep.
And I have this installation. It's a whole, another story, and a bunch of my teardrop shapes are in the installation. So it's 2 installations put together. It has a title and a text that came with this and everything. And I noticed one day that they were the same height, because I had both couches here. They were the same height, and then I realized that I could actually put them together, and you would never know they didn't really belong together.
So you've connected them.
Yeah, and then I had a pad made here because I didn't have one, and then I had this made here, and also you can flip so that you have a different experience. And just the idea that they're like things hidden, and you wouldn't know that that color was back there. It's not just like it's not burlap. What do you call it? Muslin. Not just muslin covered. And then I've got another piece that's called X Marks the Spot, but that's around the corner. This is called, you can do the rumba, he can do the twist. That's what this piece is called here. And this is part of my personal work, and this is called The Silence of Love and Families. And this is a piece where the text is actually on the piece itself. And this whole teardrop idea, there are 3 tails on the back of this, and they're actually like a tale of tears coming out of this. So this is an example of what my personal work looks like, is this piece here. So in here, this is the dining room, but it's never been a dining room. My daughter's guitar piece. It's always lived its life as a chair museum. So I work on the chairs here, and I have fabric all over the place. It's all strewn out, around the room and stuff. But this is an installation. It's actually 2 installations now. And when I took my installation that was the teardrops down from this show last summer, I had to put the teardrops somewhere. So I put the tears into this installation, so it became a different installation. So I had to, this is the original text of the first installation. And then I had to write a new text and give it a new name, because it wasn't the same with these 2 pieces being married together. And I actually have a piece of finished chair here that's hidden in this. Then this one is called, these are all like chair pieces too. Piece of chairs or whole chairs waiting to be redone or reworked in some way. And then this is called, this is the X Marks the Spot in here in this corner. And what I have here is, you've got the X on the seat, and then there's 2 X's. So the idea is that, we always think that we know everything and we know what we're doing, and then you go along and you realize that there was information you didn't have when you made certain decisions. And so that's what this chair is about. So maybe you're sitting here and your change falls out of your pocket, and you try looking for it, and you lift the cushion up and you find out there's another design underneath it. And so it's this idea that we think we know things, and oftentimes we don't know. And so I look at these furniture pieces, the way that I put them together, in a sense as a metaphor for living.
Would you say there's also like an element of surprise, perhaps?
And surprise, because
Yeah.
again, it's the conversation.
Mhm.
It's the never-ending conversation.
Mhm.
So you can see that it's done 360.
Mhm.
So it's not just that you see the front and you know it,
Mhm.
because you have to see the whole thing before you have a sense of knowing about it. So X marks the spot here. And I even made my own pillows all over the house, my own fabrics and whatever. And like this piece here is called Pick My Flowers and Cut the Love. And this piece spins. And what happens is that when you spin it, the hearts fly out
Okay.
around it. It's just wild.
Mhm.
So what I was doing here was I just took these trims and stitched them and made, in essence, a new fabric out of them, rather than just a fabric. So I'm always trying to figure out how I can make something different. What can I do that might have some innovation to it in terms of when I'm thinking of my furniture pieces. So in this room, this is the genesis of the carpet, is in this corner here. And this room is basically, it's two colors. It's the chartreuse and then it's the purple. And so you have the teardrop shapes coming off of the demarcation line through it. And as I said before, teardrops are it's a very big part of my artwork. And I don't know why, I can explain. But when you're in this room in particular, no one touched the design of this room but me. I did all the design. And the other carpets in the two rooms, those were like collaborations and changes, that kind of thing. So these were all my colors, all my shapes. And the idea is that when you're in here in this room, you're actually standing on my tiers, and so there's not a separation between you and a part of me. And when I do these furniture pieces, these sculpture pieces, I use garment fabrics. And so what I'm doing is I'm again stripping away layers and barriers, because these fabrics were meant to clothe the body and not to be placed on furniture.
Not using the interior fabrics for the interior design or the interior
Yes.
upholstery.
Yes. And so again, this idea of intimacy and removing barriers is like a big part of my work as well. So other artists have done a lot of teardrops, and Kiki Smith has three-dimensional glass tears she did, and she's got them like arrayed on the floor, or she has them cascading down a wall, but you're not touching them and standing on them. But here, you're actually doing that with my work. And so again, it's removing barriers between me and between people and the environment as well. When it came time to figure out a table in this room, it was really hard because it's kind of an odd shape, the way it goes like this. So you couldn't put a circle, nor a rectangle, nor a square, because it just didn't fit. So then we had the idea of having the table grow out of the windows, growing, so that was good. We had to figure out what shape it was going to be, so we played around with it and eventually came up with this kind of organic looking shape. And all of the formicas on it that are cut into here, they all touch. They all touch each other. And at first I had them floating, but didn't look right. Once they touched each other, then it looked cohesive.
Yeah,
it was really interesting. And the same thing with the floor here, the same herringbone stuff, and just, painted it and cut the holes up with the linoleum in. I drew the shapes on the floor and they came on behind me and wrapped them out. But the feature in this room that I love the most are the table legs.
I know, I'm just looking at them now and...
And, I had the table and it was like, okay, so put your mind to legs. What could you do that could be very different and interesting? And so what I did was, there are actually shelves cut into the legs of this table. And those are for my kids to play. So when the legs went underneath the table, instantly they were under the table with their
Legs.
stuff, in their hands and putting stuff on the shelves. So it's things like that, thinking about them in those ways, and knowing how children think and how they feel, what they like to do. So that's one element that I put into the house that was specifically for them. And then I've got pictures of them in the legs as well, and just the, all the stuff I put in there. And I took my work as a jewelry maker and I segued into these legs. I used my drill. It's all made with jewelry making tools, head pins, eye pins, plastic pieces, beads, stuff like that. And then like underneath here, there's a jelly bean Formica underneath here that only they could see. So when they were little, they could look up and they could see there's like jelly beans under the cake like there. Yeah. And different things like, the room is really only painted 2 colors aside from the shelving, but I didn't do it just, wall, baseboard, or wall ceiling. I had them do it through the middle of the room. But I didn't do it corner to corner because that's too easy. So I've got this line coming down here, and over there, the line actually goes in the back of the door. So again, it's offsetting. It's offsetting the most obvious elements.
Yep.
So rather than here, or even here or here, right into the door you cut. Yeah. Different stuff like the 3 stripes on the door. So there are different, like painted elements on a bunch of the doors themselves. And then here, this door, I've got, because my kids were little, so I don't want to get hit in the face with swinging doors. This is for grown-ups, and this is for my kids to look through at the window. So they get, hit in the face, they're peeking, And then just the shapes. It was like, I didn't want to just do a circle. It's too easy. So playing around with the shapes and trying to do the not easy thing. I guess these meet here, but other corners are offset. And the grout here was hand painted to get that orange. I'm sorry, that hot pink, because that's so hot pink now, but hand painted ceiling. And all of the saddles, the rooms that have them, they're all different. There's a different pattern, like here. Going into the living room, the saddle has that pattern, and there it's just a plain color. And then there's a simple one going in the powder room. And then the carpet here, it's a traditional, like burgundy and tan concept, but I kicked it, with the colors a little bit. But also, instead of just doing like the, pattern of diamonds, they're randomly placed on the floor. And then the diamonds move you around the corner, and all the corners. And then the corners were done, were rounded. Convex and concave. And again, it's that sort of human feeling touch that it's like people's bodies, and we don't have points on us, we're rounded. And so coming down the hallway, you really get that feeling a lot. And both ends, you get the feeling that you're kind of slithering down like the snake's stomach or something. And the idea is that the hallway is totally different from the rest of the apartment. This child, she wanted a bunk bed, but I didn't want to make a bunk bed because the concept was just too boring to me. I couldn't figure out how to do something interesting. So what I did was I made the loft for her, and then her bed is on wheels. And so when they were little, her sister would sleep up here. We'd pull the bed underneath the loft, and they'd like hold hands and talk and stuff. So it was a bunk bed, but just a different concept of a bunk bed. So the loft is actually in the shape of a heart. And so that's why it dips in here, because how the top of the heart dips in. And then the point of the heart is in the corner of the bedroom. And then I put this yellow paint on the ceiling, and it's actually a sun ray. And wherever this girl was when she was little, I used to always say the sun was always shining wherever she was. And so I've got this sun ray that emanates from the corner of the room, and the point of the heart is in the same corner. And so when the kids are above the loft, the heart's below them. And when they're down here, then the heart is above them. And so the idea is that you have this swirling, wrapping, protective feeling for little children. And so I think that children having spaces that are geared towards their physical size is really important to them. And so the idea that I've created these shapes for them and made these connections with the sun and with the heart, and thinking of how I could protect them, make them feel happy and safe, and they could be also creative in that environment. And then you have to have the closet and the staircase. You have to have that. That has to happen. And then in this daughter's room, I had a cityscape done, and I have the old building that we used to live in, and the new building, because we were moving from that one to this one, so I made both buildings part of the cityscape here for her. And then I don't believe in themes because you have to throw them out and start over again. And so this girl's room is the same as it was when she was like 5, and she's 20 now, and she hasn't asked to repaint it. She, the masks have been there the whole time. The same pieces of furniture, everything's the same, except that she wanted to have the houndstooth black and white sheets, and I said, okay, that's all right. So, again, it's this, it doesn't really have a theme, but it still has a feel, it still has something that it's saying. So what I did was, first of all, I put these fabrics on the floor of my living room. 2 weeks I laid them out. 2 weeks. And that was just arranging them, cutting them, ripping them, figuring out where they were going to go and which piece and that kind of stuff. So it's just like my collage work. It's just cut and paste collage stuff. So it's a mixture of modern and vintage, mainly it's vintage fabrics though, mixture. So then we had it put in a hospital track curtain. So we could do performances and just, ta-da, here's a performance, like that. And so the stage used to be bare, in the low, and there's a little bed frame on wheels that fits underneath the stage. So you'd open up the cupboard doors and pull a little bed out for her to sleep on. And then it had this stage they could play on, do performances on and everything all the time. So when she got older and too big for the little bed, so we just threw this mattress on it for her. And so again, she never asked me, can I change my bedroom? Can I get rid of the stage, the curtain, whatever? And so now she can go in here and turn the light on and close the curtain, and she still has a special place for her also. And then on the back of each bedroom door, there's a, let me show you.
Okay. I see. Yeah, it's great.
And they're each different, they're not the same. And so what I did was, I cut a hole in the mirror, but it went all the way through to the door. So again, it's part of the conversation. So the other daughter, hers is round. And then I had them sandblast the edge in these shapes. And then I painted, again with my pearlized paints, all the shapes on them and everything else. So you could, I had nothing else to do. I was just doing this, ducky yellow bathtub. And remember, my daughters were very small. They were, like 2 and 5 when I began to think about what they wanted and everything. So the rubber ducky yellow tub, and that was covered up, and all of the tile work was covered with, newspaper or butcher paper or whatever. And then it was time to pick paint colors, but we couldn't see the tiles. And so we said, okay, well we'll do this. This is shimmery pink thing here. And then I start thinking, okay, rubber duckies, yellow. They're bunnies here in the sink. It's pink. They're little girls in pink bunnies. And I'm thinking Easter, ducks, bunnies, Easter. And I thought, we'll make this bathroom like an Easter egg. And so what you have is, you've got the lavender is the top part of the Easter egg. And the cantaloupe is the lower part, and this is the duck cracking out of the egg. The pink, and it goes all the way across the door, all the way around. So my kids would say, oh, it's the yellow pink ducky egg crack bathroom, something like that, So that's where it came from, this idea of, it wasn't a theme, it wasn't a color scheme, it wasn't, really, I mean, it was about shapes, but it grew and it made itself happen. So it wasn't like I had it all planned and I'm, thematic, it just wasn't like that, it just happened as we were trying to figure out, now what. This is my studio space, and as such, of course, it's a mess. And what I did here was, I really have these other lights to really see in this room, but every single area is different from the next area. And so out of all the tiled areas I have in the house, there are no two areas that are the same. And so this is the backsplash from the miniature dollhouse store. Little teeny dishes and pots and pans and stuff. So I use them like they were tiles. And then the pattern that's behind my slop sink here is not the same as any other tile pattern in the house. Not the same. And even like side to side, it's different. So I cut up all the tiles myself on the tile saw. And I laid out the tiles the way I wanted them to be, and then they were, the work was done for me.
Yep.
So in here, it's a fish bathroom, and that's it. So this is like the shark's teeth, shark's jaws on the door. And you come in here, and I just have all these mad fish tiles, and I cut them up, tile saw, put them back together in different ways and stuff. And then here I've got beads that are made in India on the top here, that I've been using for many years to make my jewelry with. And then I've got some other like little elements here. They're just like ceramic things that I popped in here. And again, we painted this grout. It's all hand painted. And then this is the only shelf in the house that has tile that looks like this. These are all beads. They'll have holes in them. They're made to do jewelry with. The Buddhist prayer stones, and then some other little, tile things. And these are votive candle holders, just popped them in there, like that. The soap dish, the fish. And then I've got a toothbrush holder up here, upside down. This looks like a quilt. They're all these 2-inch squares, and because you have to have it with a slope so the water goes down the drain, it does give the impression of being a quilt because it's not completely flat. And to me, again, that's related to the human element of it, that we're thinking about quilts and thinking about fabrics and how we're born into them and we die in fabric surrounded by them. And so again, it's this whole human element that I'm interjecting into the space, and it's not the same as I just slapped some tiles in there because I like the way the colors went together. So then these frosted ones here, I painted the undersides of those like I painted in the girls on their mirrors. And so what happens is that as you're taking a shower and they get wet, the color changes. So again, it's this idea of the never-ending conversation, that you look somewhere and you think you know what it looks like, but then you look again and you go, oh wow, that's different. What's going on here? And so, again, there's so much thought and so much detail, endless thought and ideas and concepts that go into every part